Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and happy Saturday as we welcome you to the TKDS Sports Network. I'm Jackson Lightcap alongside my colleagues Matthew Pennington, Jonathan Snyder, and folks, Week 13 for Ohio high school football is officially in the books, and we are now moving on to the regional final. 28 games to be played next Friday, and the winner of those 28 games will punch their ticket to the state Final Four.
I'll tell you what, it definitely feels like it's week 13 outside. It was pretty chilly going out to the car this morning.
And from you, that's saying something.
Yeah, from me, I mean, I'm only in a hoodie and shorts right now. And, I mean, it would make sense that I felt pretty chilly walking to my car this morning. But I walked out, saw there was frost on my car, and I was like, crud. I knew it was going to be cold the second I looked out of my garage door and I saw all the frost all over my car. I was like, it's going to be a chilly ride for the first few minutes going to the studio, but once the car got warmed up, everything went away. I felt fine.
John, what about you? Is it cold over in Indiana where you're at?
Yeah, it's starting to get cooled down. It's not like freezing at that point, but you can definitely tell that the weather's starting to go. I haven't had to scrape off my car yet, but I have seen the aftermath of the frost being on my car, so got to get ready for that.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready for the cold. I'm ready for the snow. I'm ready for it to be cold. I'm ready for Thanksgiving time and that time period between Thanksgiving and Christmas. I'm ready for it all.
I mean, you talk about me being used to the cold. This is the weather I'm built for, man. I'm used to this cold weather. I'm ready for it too. Every time it gets around this time frame of the year, I'm like, all right, we're starting to get to the colder times. Everybody's going to be upset that it's getting colder, but in my head, every time it gets cold, I'm like, dude, let's go outside and play some football. This is great. This is an amazing time to go outside and have some fun and play some football with your friends and whatnot. So I'm ready for it. I'm really part of me's ready for it, but I feel like as I get older, I'm going to start not being ready for it as time goes on. But right now, I'm definitely ready for it.
Yeah, plus, I mean, this is the time where, a lot more of the professional scene is starting up. Basketball started a couple weeks ago. Hockey started a couple weeks ago. We're starting into the mid-season of pro football. College football starting to wind down this regular season. It really is that time of year again.
Yeah, certainly. And weather's cutting cold, and like I said, I'm ready for it. Matt, maybe that'll be my next hot take for Hot Take Wednesday. But nonetheless, before we move on with this show, we want to apologize for anybody who was wanting to watch the Thursday show. We were having some issues with the hard line in the studio, so there were some minor renovations going on, and obviously new studio. We're going to have some of those issues. As our good friend Tib Capel likes to say, Rome wasn't built in a day. So nonetheless, we apologize for the inconvenience, but we're going to have an action-packed show. We're live until 10 today on the TKDS Sports Network. All three of us will be hosting, and in hour number 2, the 9 o'clock hour, as of right now, we have a few guests lined up. We're hoping to have Coach Howard from Columbus on the phone. We're hoping to have TJ Downing from Stark Media and Canton on the phone as well. And then we also will have Tim Capel and John Spark from Southeast Ohio. So we have a really big show today. We're going to go through all 56 games from last night's affair, and then we're going to have our guest on in hour number 2. So busy show today, a lot of moving parts. But hey, before we get into it, real quick, I want to show some love to John. John, congratulations on your new gig. If you want to tell all the viewers out there about your new media gig.
Oh, yes, I guess we will. So I just accepted a position as a full-time journalist at my local newspaper in Bluffton, Indiana. So really excited to get that started. I'm going to be covering a lot of city government, which sounds intimidating at the start, but considering it's a very small town, kind of everybody knows everybody. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun to do. I'm settling in now, and it's just a lot of information that I've had to take in, but still fun times. I'm still looking forward to it.
Absolutely. John, everyone here at TKDS Sports Network, Matt's giving a round of applause. I know you can't see it because you're on a phone line, but obviously, tremendous job. Very proud of you. And, go get them. So, nonetheless, for all the viewers out there, we're still going to have John on as much as possible and as much as he can handle as well. So, nonetheless, let's get into the show. We're going to start with the scores. And again, on this Saturday show, we usually go just talking about the Southwest regions, which is region 28, 24, 20, yada, 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 yada. But since we didn't do our Thursday show, we decided to expand this show to talk about the entire state of Ohio. So here are all your scores from the state of Ohio. We're going to roll through the scores, and then we'll go back and talk about them. So we'll start with Region 28. Number 1 seed, Marion Local. The Flyers flying high. They were tied with Minster in the second quarter. Marion Local, 21 unanswered points to take down Minster, 28-7. They will meet up against Ansonia in the regional final. It'll be a 20 versus a 13, or it'll be Ansonia, I beg your pardon, beat St. Henry 20-13 as the Cinderella run for St. Henry, the 14 seed, will come to a close. 1 versus 2 seed in Region 28. In Region 27, Reedsville Eastern took down Hannibal River 21-14, and Caldwell took down number 7 Waterford 20-13. Reedsville Eastern and Caldwell, they have a date next Friday in the regional final. And then moving down the list into Region 26, number 5 seed Patrick Henry over number 1 seed Hopewell Loudon. So here we are. We entered round 3 of the OHSA playoffs, the regional semifinals. And this is the first number 1 seed we have seen be knocked out of the postseason. Patrick Henry will move on to face Macomb in the regional final next week, as number 6 Macomb took down number 7 Lima Central Catholic by a score of 45-13. Last but not least, for D7, Region 25, number 1 seed Dalton takes down number 13 seed Norwalk St. Paul. And the Cinderella run for St. Paul will come to a close. They lose that one by 20, 48-28, the final score. And number 2, Danville took down Lowellville, the 6th seed, 41-21. Dalton, Danville, Region 25, regional final.
And I'll tell you what, I pictured it coming from the very start of this postseason, but we've got number 1 in Division 7 in Marion Local against number 2 in Division 7, Ansonia, to decide Region 28. Like I said, it was the matchup that I wanted to see happen come out of Region 28. Excited that that's what we're going to be able to see, because we just saw Ansonia take down a MAC school. Obviously, St. Henry didn't have the greatest of seasons, but when it comes down to taking on MAC schools in the postseason, if you can get a win against a school out of the MAC conference, that's a win in and of itself in this postseason. It's probably, it would feel like a bigger win than just moving on to the next round of the postseason, but Ansonia now has a tough task in Marion Local. You talk about the Flyers flying high, continuing the absolute dominant win streak that they have been on these past few seasons. I think it's going on 3 years now where they haven't lost a football game. They went undefeated 2 years ago, won state. Last year they went undefeated and won state. This year they're looking to go undefeated again and win state. So this Flyers team, you mentioned it. I don't know how many times we've got to say it, but it's going to be true every time we say it. They're flying high, and they took down a MAC school in Minster pretty convincingly yesterday. Like you said, it was 7-7, but good teams close out games when they're needed. 21 unanswered points for the Flyers. They showed why they should be the number 1 team in the state for Division 7.
Yeah, and of course, the Cinderella run ends for St. Henry. It's unfortunate for them, especially considering they were one of the MAC schools that I'll admit I had written off, and I've learned my mistakes, trust me. So having St. Henry go as far as they did is incredible, especially the fact that they played Ansonia so close. It was like 12-7 in the third quarter, and eventually Ansonia just edged the gap a little bit more. Or Ansonia was leading 12-7 at that third quarter point. But St. Henry kept it close and kept with them the whole game, even to the tune of holding them scoreless in the first quarter. So a really impressive performance from St. Henry, despite being on the wrong end of the scoreboard.
You know, Matt, back to Region 28, you mentioned we will see in the regional final the number 1 team in the state of Ohio and the number 2 team in the state of Ohio. When it comes down to the AP poll, again, no AP polls during the postseason, so we're going based off of the AP poll after Week 10 entering the postseason. But the number 3 team in the state of Ohio for Division 7 football, Hopewell Loudon, they were upset by Patrick Henry last night in Region 26, 26-14. Ultimately an upset I did not see coming. In fact, Hopewell Loudon was my favorite to win Region 26, and I'm sure it was many people's favorites as well.
Yeah, Hopewell Loudon was definitely the team that was expected to come out of Region 26, but it was another thing we talked about with that region. There were so many competitive teams and so many teams that should be ranked and should be seeded better than they were. I mean, you take a look at Macomb as a team that moved on. They're now in the regional final game, but I believe they were a top 10 team in the state, and they were they were at one point around week 8 to week 10. They were inside the top 10 when it came to the state rankings. They were the 6th seed in Region 26. So that goes to show the competitive level and the competitive nature that was going on in Region 26 during the regular season. When you've got a team that at decent chunk of the season was inside the top 10 for Division 7, being the 6th seed in that region, it goes to show that there are a ton of good teams in Region 26 and why it doesn't matter who ends up playing the winner of Patrick Henry versus Macomb, whether it be Caldwell or Reedsville Eastern, whether it be Marion Local or Ansonia, whoever wins that matchup, or whoever wins Dalton versus Danville. If you're facing off against a team out of Region 26, you have to play your best football. Otherwise, your season's going to come to an end.
Yeah, and a great performance from Patrick Henry just in general in that game. Starting out well, I believe it was like 14-7 for the Patriots at the end of the first quarter, and just hung on from there. And I mentioned it with Region 28 a little bit. If St. Henry were to pull off the upset against Ansonia, you almost have to wonder in Region 26, clearly Patrick Henry's now the favorite to come out of that division. And with a win against a team that was 3rd in the AP poll for Division 7, you have to wonder, like, just how much momentum is that going to give Patrick Henry? And in particular, who they're going to face off against in come state if they were to take the region. So it'll be it's almost a wait and see moment, because we don't know who they would face if they were to make the state level. But if they go up against like potentially a Caldwell or maybe a Dalton, you never know what could happen in those games.
And Matt, just as going off of what you alluded to just a couple of seconds ago, we talk about how stacked Region 26 is. How about Patrick Henry? According to the AP poll, they're the number 10. They're the 10th best team. They're number 10 in the AP poll for the OHSA for Division 7 football. They're the 5 seed in Region 26. I think that just goes to show you, number one, how stacked that region is, not to mention also how stacked their schedule was through the regular season.
And yeah, that's one thing that is slightly unfortunate for Region 28. You've got number 1 and you've got number 2, and then it's not that it falls off, but I think Minster was the only other team that was really being mentioned for a top 10.
Minster was 7, and outside of that,
there wasn't any.
There were none.
So you've obviously...
In Region 28, that is.
Yeah, in Region 28, you've only got number 1, number 2, and then Minster, who, like I said, I knew that they were inside the top 10. I wasn't going to jump and say that they were 5 when they weren't. But you mentioned they were number 7. They're the 5 seed in Region 28. So I think, I'm not saying it's completely out of the realm of possibility that we see a team from Region 27 or a team from Region 25 winning state. But if there's regions that I'm looking at right now to have the best chances with how competitive they are and how good of teams there are in those regions, I'm looking at 28 and 26 right now to potentially be the region that comes away with a state champion for Division 7 football.
Well, obviously in Division 7, Region 28 is going to be the key matchup across the entire state of Ohio. It's the number 1 team in the state versus the number 2 team in the state for Division 7. But I'm also looking at Region 25, and because Region 28, it's 1 versus 2, is going to be such a high stacked game and a high leverage game for the state of Ohio, Region 25, that regional final matchup is going to go a little bit unnoticed. It's Dalton versus Danville, the number 4 team in the state against the number 5 team in the state. So that game also has a lot of formula and a lot of recipe for it to be a very, very competitive matchup.
And yeah, that's going to be the one thing that is unfortunate for pretty much every single matchup inside of Division 7 this upcoming week is the fact that you've got number 1 and 2 in the state facing off against each other for the regional final game. So you talk about it's a little bit unfortunate because Dalton versus Danville might get overshadowed, but when you've got number 1 and number 2 in the state for your division playing against each other and it's only to make the Final Four, it would make a little bit of sense that a majority of the other games going on in that division are going to be overlooked, but that doesn't mean that the games aren't going to be good games. Reedsville Eastern versus Caldwell, that's going to be a good game. Patrick Henry versus Macomb, going to be a good game. And like you mentioned, 4 versus 5, Dalton versus Danville, that is also going to be a good game. So just because it's 1 versus 2, Marion Local versus Ansonia, doesn't mean the rest of the games inside of the division are going to be nowhere near as good.
Absolutely. And when you get those like 4 and 5 seed games in particular, anytime or I should say 4 and 5 in the AP poll, anytime you get those close AP poll matchups, they always seem to turn into good ones. So it's going to be exciting to see who comes out of, well, every region, but in particular 28 and 25. Should be some great matchups.
Should be a tremendous matchup as well as all across Division 7. They are into the regional finals. When we return, we'll talk about Division 6 and Division 5 and their regions as well. That's all coming up next on Sports Now.
Okay, so Jackson,
Every day, we find ourselves on a path full of decisions.
It's me.
Sometimes small and sometimes big. Sometimes alone and sometimes together. At McAfee, everything we do is done with your comfort, health, and convenience in mind. She always wanted the best for you, and now you can rest knowing you've provided the best for her. Breathe easy. Choose McAfee. Every day, we find ourselves on a path full of decisions.
It's me.
Sometimes small and sometimes big. Sometimes alone and sometimes together. At McAfee, everything we do is done with your comfort, health, and convenience in mind. She always wanted the best for you, and now you can rest knowing you've provided the best for her. Breathe easy. Choose McAfee.
We welcome you back here to the TKDS Sports Network. Jackson Lightcap alongside Matthew Pennington and John Snyder. As we welcome you, let's move in now to Division 6, the regional semifinals for Division 6 across the state of Ohio. Number 8 seed, another Midwest athletic team. We talk about how great that conference is. They take down the number 5 seed Tri-Village. Anna over Tri-Village, 56-51. Tri-Village, they gave it their all, and I will still, to this day, say that Tri-Village was the most underrated team in the entire state of Ohio. Number 2 seed, another MAC school, Versailles, destroys number 3 seed Cincinnati Country Day. That final score, 55-13. Anna versus Versailles, a Midwest Athletic Conference matchup for the regional final. Region 23, we saw Sugar Creek Garraway take down Galion Northmore by a final score of 42-7. And number 2 seed West Jefferson, the Rough Riders, they handle Fort Fry by a final score of 49-30. West Jefferson, Garraway coming up next week for the regional final. On to region number 22, Division 6. Number 1 seed Columbus Grove took down number 4 Cary 37-21. And number 2 seed Bluffton took down number 6 seed Toledo. Ottawa Hills blanked them, as a matter of fact, 34-0. And we will see Columbus Grove going up against Bluffton next week in the regional final. Last but not least, for Division 6, number 1 seed Kirtland. They take down Cuyahoga Heights 53-19. And Mogador took down Mineral Ridge 21-7. Mineral Ridge, their Cinderella story will come to an end. We'll see Mogador and Kirtland once again in the regional final for Region 21.
And I'll say it, I don't know how many times I need to say it until it's ingrained in everybody's minds that's listening, but I'm going to keep doing it until it is. The MAC is a dominant conference. Anna, coming out of the MAC, took down a very, very good Tri-Village Patriots team, 56-51. And then on the other end of Region 24, the other end of the bracket, 2-seeded Versailles out of the MAC conference absolutely destroys Cincinnati Country Day. Cincinnati Country Day, when it came to points allowed per game, had a stout defense the entire season. Versailles just dropped 55 points on them. And now we're going to have a guaranteed MAC school coming out of Region 24. So whoever is going to end up facing off against Region 24, the winner of Region 21 through 23, whoever wins those regions, you better be ready to play in the regional or in the state semifinal game, because you're going to have to deal with a MAC school. And if history has anything to say for it, MAC schools are insanely good in the postseason. So whoever ends up facing off, whichever region matches up with Region 24 for the state semifinal, you better be ready for division. You better be ready in Division 6, because you are guaranteed to have a MAC school, whether it be Anna or whether it be Versailles. You just got to be ready for it, because the MAC conference, we know how good they are in every single sport. It's not just football. So whichever region has to match up with 24 in the state semifinal, you better be ready to face off against a tough team.
Yeah, and how about how about the parity in this Division 6 right now? All of the top 5 in the AP poll are moving on to the regional final games. You've got Kirtland at the 1, tied with West Jefferson. Versailles going in, Sugar Creek, Garraway, and Bluffton. All 5 of those schools are moving into the regional final. So just an amazing run for Division 6 teams just in general, and especially with Anna and Versailles, as we've said. Anna got into an offensive shootout with Tri-Village, and the fact that Anna's putting up 56 points on not arguably, one of the top seeds in the WOAC after this year in Tri-Village, and one of the better teams this year just in general. It's unfortunate that Tri-Village was the higher seed in that matchup, because it really doesn't reflect just how good Anna has been in this postseason, and especially how good they were in that game. But it also Versailles taking one of the best defenses in the state of Ohio, the Cincinnati Country Day, who has had more shutouts than, I don't quite have the number on me, but they have a ton of shutouts, and Versailles drops over 50 on them. So incredible games in Region 24, and as long as some surprises, a pleasant surprise, because and forgive me for this, but I have a little bit of a history with Toledo Ottawa Hills. My alma mater high school played them in soccer a lot, and we always got destroyed by Ottawa Hills while I was on the team. So seeing them get demolished in Region 22 is a bit of cathartic happiness for me. But regardless, Ottawa Hills is still a very good program. Just ran into a really tough Bluffton team.
John, you were talking about how great that Tri-Village defense is, and heading into that game, they only allowed 12.7 points per game. Obviously, you can't have a decimal point points per game. So you round that up, they were only allowing about 13 points per game on average. And how about Anna going in and absolutely putting up 56 on them as well? Guys, the one I'm looking out for, the regional final match I'm most excited for is Region 23. We're going to see Sugar Creek Garaway versus number 2 West Jefferson. West Jefferson, like you said, they are for Division 6. They are number 4 in the state of Ohio. And Garaway, they're number 2 in the state of Ohio. So should be a very, very fun matchup to watch. Let's move on now to Division 5, Region 20. Number 1 seed, the Valley View Spartans, they take down the Cavaliers of Purcell Marion 31-22. Waynesville beats Brookville in an SWBL showdown in double overtime. Final score in that one, 45-42. We'll talk about that here in just a minute, but we're having another SWBL showdown in the regional final between Valley View and Waynesville for Region 20. To Region 19, Canal Winchester Harvest Prep, the number 4 seed, puts up 20. They take down Ironton, the 1 seed, with 14. Number 7 seed, Wheelersburg, put up 26. They take down Barnesville, the 13 seed, the 3 seed, who had 13 points. 7 over 3, 26-13. On to Region 18, and number 1 seed, Liberty Center, takes down number 4 seed Oak Harbor 45-14. And here's another MAC school. The number 6 seed Coldwater takes down Milan Edison 42-7. We see Coldwater versus Liberty Center in the regional final. It'll be a 1 seed versus a 6 seed. And last but not least, Region 17, Perry takes down Garrettsfield Garfield 42-14, a 1 over a 5 seed. Canfield South Range takes down Lorraine Clearview 48-21. Canfield South Range will square off against Perry for Region 17. And folks, guys, that game is going to be absolutely incredible. You have Perry, who is the number 1 team in the state of Ohio, Canfield South Range, who's the number 8 team in the state of Ohio. They've been in this situation before. Both teams have been in this situation before. And ultimately, it's just going to make for a great story and a tremendous game.
And yeah, we've got one team that won a region in last year's postseason. It was Ironton. They made it all the way to the state championship game where they lost to Canfield South Range. But the other teams that won their regions a season ago, obviously Ironton and South Range both won their regions last year. Liberty Center won their region, and Valley View won their region a season ago. So the Spartans looking to try to continue it. Liberty Center looking to try to continue that. Canfield South Range also looking to try to go back-to-back region winners in this postseason play. So that was the biggest shock to me, taking a look at all these scores for Division 5. Harvest Prep taking down Ironton.
I apologize, Matt.
No, you're good.
So I'm looking forward to this Region 18 matchup. Liberty Center and Coldwater. Liberty Center as the 2 in the AP poll, Coldwater as the 3. And I mentioned this last week, but when you get to this point in postseason play, seeding does not matter. So, because every single team has gone through a gauntlet just to get to this point. So any matchup has a legitimate chance of going in either direction. So that Liberty Center Coldwater game, even though it's a 1 and 6 seed, that's one I'm definitely looking forward to. And of course, Region 20, the SWBL rematch, going to be an amazing one.
And Matt, just as you were mentioned, let's go back to Region 19, the Ironton Fighting Tigers. It seemed like this season they were playing with a chip on their shoulder. Remember, they made it all the way to the state championship in Canton, where they lost in a shootout. And this season, the Fighting Tigers, it seemed like they had a chip on their shoulder. They played a very tough schedule, and they were winning football games left and right. Their only loss was to Cabell Midland from West Virginia all the way back in Week 4. This is a team that was not only winning, but also putting together very convincing wins as well. They go up against Harvest Prep. Harvest Prep heading into that game, the number 7 team in the state of Ohio. And Harvest Prep, they were able to take them down. And I don't necessarily think that speaks bad on Ironton and their program and what they bring to the table, because we know what they bring to the table. That's such an incredible program down in Southeast Ohio. I think that speaks very highly on Harvest Prep. There's been a lot of talk. There's been a lot of hype around Harvest Prep this season. And a lot of people in the Columbus area saying this is Harvest Prep season. And I'm sure Coach George Howard will be the first one to tell you that when he joins us here at 9 o'clock. He talked about that a few weeks ago on the Thursday show. Harvest Prep, this is their season. And guess what? They've lived up to the hype. Harvest Prep, they're a team to beat. They're here to stay. And congratulations to Harvest Prep.
Yeah, Harvest Prep taking down a team that made it to the state championship game a season ago and looked like they were poised to make a similar run, if not win the state championship this season. That is a huge, huge win for Harvest Prep. And another thing I want to bring up, we talked about state rankings, the AP poll rankings. How in the world is Coldwater a 6 seed in their region, but the number 5 team in the state of Ohio? How does that make any sense? Coldwater's a team, though, that I've got my eye out on. Obviously, I keep bringing it up, but it's always true every time I bring it up. You have to pay attention to and you have to keep an eye out for MAC school if you're facing off against them in the postseason. Liberty Center's got Coldwater up next this upcoming week, so if you're Liberty Center, watch out for this Cavaliers squad because it's going to be a tough game. I believe it's number 2 versus number 5 in the state when it comes down to the final AP polls from the end of week 10. So it should be a pretty good matchup in Region 18.
Oh yeah, well, matchups everywhere, I'd say, and just again, we're gonna sound like broken records a lot here, but it's genuinely one of the most exciting weeks next week to see who gets the honor of going to state. Everybody's going to be playing their guts out in these games. So it'll be a really fun matchups all across the state, in particular Division 5, of course, that SWBL matchup. I can already tell that that's going to be a game pick, and that's not going to be fun.
Should be an absolutely incredible one. Division 4 and Division 3 coming up when we return, but right now you're watching Sports Now on the TKTS Sports Network.
Every day, we find ourselves on a path full of decisions.
It's me.
Sometimes small and sometimes big. Sometimes alone and sometimes together. At McAfee, everything we do is done with your comfort, health, and convenience in mind. She always wanted the best for you, and now you can rest knowing you've provided the best for her. Breathe easy. Choose McAfee. Every day, we find ourselves on a path full of decisions.
It's me.
Sometimes small and sometimes big. Sometimes alone and sometimes together. At McAfee, everything we do is done with your comfort, health, and convenience in mind. She always wanted the best for you, and now you can rest knowing you've provided the best for her. Breathe easy. Choose McAfee.
We welcome you back here to the TKDS Sports Network. Jackson Lightcap, Matt Pennington, John Snyder, our producer Kevin Fowler. And let's go in to Division 4. Division 4, we'll start with Region 16 and a huge upset alert here. The number 1 team in the state of Ohio for Division 4 football, Clinton Massey, loses to Alter, but not only loses, they get destroyed 21-3. The Alter Knights are moving on to the regional final where they will face off against the Wyoming Cowboys. The Cowboys, they've been here so many times in the past. A 1-point victory over Shawnee. to punch their ticket. The final score in that one was 21-20. Tim Capel had the call with that one. He'll be on in hour number 2 in that show, so he'll be able to give us a little bit more insight on that game. Wyoming, though, able to score that touchdown, the go-ahead touchdown in the final minute of the fourth quarter. Shawnee, they ended up going 4 and out, and Wyoming, one kneel down, was able to do it. On to Region 15, the 1 seed Steubenville takes down number 13 seed Indian Valley 42-35, and number 2 seed Thornville Sheridan takes down Bishop Hartley, the 3 seed, 34-27. Steubenville and Thornville Sheridan will square off in the regional final for Region 15. And folks, Matt, John, again, another Cinderella story coming to an end. Indian Valley gave it their all, the 13 seed going down in the regional semifinal by a touchdown to a Steubenville, a top 10 team in the state of Ohio. Region 14, Sandusky Perkins takes down Millersburg West Holmes 38-21. Cleveland Glenville, they're back in the regional final as they take down 3 seed Shelby 50-14. Perkins Glenville could be the game across the state to keep an eye out on. And last but not least, for Division 4, Region 13, Canton South takes down Beloit West Branch 40-21. Struthers takes down Menor Lake Catholic 28-25. Canton South and Struthers will play in the regional final, who will decide Region 13 next Friday night.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one thing, that Alter game, Alter taking down the number 1 team in the entire state, Clinton Massey, it's not that Glenville is guaranteed to represent Region 14 because they have to take down Sandusky Perkins to do that, but if there was any team in Division 4 that I really had maybe giving Cleveland Glenville a bit of fits and a bit of issues when it came to a potential state championship or a state semifinal matchup, I was looking at that Falcons team from Clinton Massey, but now I get the question of, is there going to be anybody that's going to stand in the way of back-to-back state championships for Glenville? Just because you take a look at every team that's left, obviously you've got a few 1 seeds left to go, Sandusky Perkins being one of them, but the only reason Glenville is the number 2 seed is because they played some of the top teams in the entire state of Ohio when it comes to Division 1 and Division 2 football. So this Glenville team, they're battle-tested. They've played very good teams. And not to mention, they also played IMG Academy out of Florida, one of the best teams in the entire nation. They did end up losing that game pretty convincingly, but it was against one of the best teams in the entire nation. So this Glenville team, they're battle-tested. They faced off against some pretty tough competition, tougher competition than they're probably going to face in this entire postseason. So this Tarblooders team, you just get the question of, can anybody take them down? Because at this rate, I don't know if anybody can. I think Division 4 is in Glenville's hands. It's just going to be a question of, can anybody rip it out of them?
Yeah, and definitely a lot of great performances, a lot of comfortable wins for the teams at the top of Division 4. You mentioned, and Perkins had a fairly comfortable win over West Holmes. Steubenville got itself the win over Indian Valley. That one was a little bit of a scare for them, but Canton South 40-21 over West Branch. But let me pump the brakes here on this Region 16 matchup, because I don't know how we haven't noticed this, but throughout the whole postseason, Alter has only allowed 9 points. They shut out Roger Bacon, 31-6 over Indian Hill, and of course the 21-3 over Clinton Massey. It was a defense that we definitely gave its props. I mean, they had some great performances throughout the year, but, you know, a 24-point outing and a loss to Baden early in the year, a 21-14 win over Chaminade Julienne. It was one of those defenses where we really didn't give it a lot of props. It was still solid, but we didn't give it a lot of props. And this Alter defense has hit a gear that is near Cincinnati Country Day levels of defense. And in particular, going up against a Wyoming, who has one of the better offenses throughout the Cincinnati area, that's going to be a really fun matchup to see.
With that, let's move on to Division 3. We'll start with Region 12. Number 1 seed, the Baden Rams. They take down number 5 seed, Wapakoneta, 14-10. Baden beat Wapakoneta last season, and they do it once again in the regional semifinal. Number 6 seed, Salina, their Cinderella run will continue. They knock off the 2 seed Tip City and a statement win, 27-13. Salina and Baden will square off in the regional final next week. For Region 11, the number 1 seed Bishop Watterson took down 5 seed Bloom Carroll 20-10. Number 7 seed Bell Fountain took down number 3 seed Granville. Bell Fountain, their Cinderella run continues. They win that one 29-21. Watterson, Bell Fountain, the regional final for Region 11 coming up next week. Region 10, number 1 seed Toledo Central Catholic takes down 4 seed Mansfield Senior in a statement win for TCC 41-10. And Tiffin Columbia, they take down Medina Buckeye 35-0. Tiffin Columbian and Toledo Central Catholic will meet next Friday night. Last but not least, for Division 3, Ursuline takes down St. Joseph 27-20, and Chardon takes down Aurora 31-7. 7 seed Chardon, 1 seed Ursuline. They meet up for a date next Friday night.
Yeah, and the one game I want to go back to and take a look at is that Baden versus Wapakoneta game. Wapakoneta was up 10-0 in the fourth quarter. Baden scored 2 touchdowns in the later stages of the game. ScoreStream even had it set up and finalized that Wapakoneta won the game 10-7. So a very late touchdown for the Baden Rams to push themselves and propel themselves ahead of Wapakoneta. And then that Salina game versus Tip. Salina was just dominant running the football. That was the game that Jackson, you and I were at last night. Braylon Gabies, he was listed as a wide receiver. He pretty much played almost every position you can outside of offensive line in that game on the offensive side. He even played quite efficiently on the defensive side as well. So Salina and the Bulldogs, if Gabies can play at that level, it's going to be tough for teams to be able to stop that Bulldogs offense because they move the football down the field slow, methodically, and well. They take time away. They don't slow down their pace. They don't change their pace at any moment. They run and they play their style of football, and I think that's what really ended up propelling them to a win last night was the fact that they stuck to their they stuck to their way of football. They stuck to the way they like playing it, the way they like running that offense. And it didn't matter what Tip did on their offensive possessions. It didn't matter what the Red Devils defense did in that game. The Bulldogs continued to control the game from the gate. That's why Salina ended up taking down Tip City last night. That'll be a fun matchup between the Rams and the Bulldogs.
Yeah, and you mentioned it came down to the last minute. It was a late touchdown. Some sources I'm seeing, Baden scored with 2 seconds left on the clock. That's I believe it was the last second touchdown that let Baden get the win over Wapakoneta. But some really, really solid matchups here. In particular, Toledo Central Catholic, just a 30-plus margin of victory. And yes, I probably do have a bias toward Toledo teams now that I mentioned it, considering I lived there for 18 years. But again, Central Catholic, anytime you can get a 30-plus margin of victory at this stage in the postseason, it's almost unheard of. So Central Catholic really flexing their muscle in that one. And granted, Tiffin Columbian did that as well, a 35-0 win. So that's going to be a very fun matchup in Division 3, especially Tiffin Columbian being 8th in the AP poll. Toledo Central Catholic getting the 1 for Division 3 high school football in Ohio. So should be a really fun set of matchups in Division 3. A lot of push and pull between all 8 of these schools.
And, I want to look at Region 9. And Region 9, the 7 seed Chardon. Matt, I believe you said this on the show. Watch out for Chardon because this is a team that entered the postseason as the 7 seed. They were battling for a home playoff game all season long. They got it as the 7 seed, and here they are. They're finding themselves in the regional final. They play Ursuline next Friday night, but they took down the number 3 seed Aurora 31-7. A 24-point win. And mind you, Aurora entering the postseason, they were the number 9 team in the entire state of Ohio. So, Chardon, that's a historically great program. They're putting together a nice postseason run, and their Cinderella run is continuing. And I call it a Cinderella run because of the seeding. I don't necessarily want to call it a Cinderella run because of how great Chardon usually is and how historically great they've been in the postseason.
Tell you one team that's having a Cinderella run right now in Division 3. That's Bell Fountain, 7 seed right now. You take a look at the teams that they've taken down. I wrote them off when they had to face off against London in the postseason, the number 6 team in the state for Division 3. And then they just took down the number 10 team in Division 3 for the entire state of Ohio. Now they've got a tough matchup against Bishop Watterson, who's the number 4 team in the entire state of Ohio for Division 3. So Bell Fountain, they have run through a gauntlet so far this postseason, and they're going to have another team that they're going to want to try to take down to continue to run the gauntlet. But you got to give credit to the Chieftains, a 7 seed. A lot of people probably wrote them off in that game against London just because they had already lost to them on the season. London looked really dominant in that game against Bell Fountain earlier on in the season, so I got to give props to Bell Fountain. Props need to be given where it's due. This Chieftains team, they have run a gauntlet so far this postseason. They've got another tough team in Bishop Watterson coming up next week. But like I said, you've just got to give props where they're due. And the Chieftains definitely deserve some props for what they've been able to do this postseason.
With that being said, it's time for a break. D2, D1 coming up when we return.
Come on, guys, let's call Daddy. Hi, Daddy. Hi.
How you doing?
So the furnace is on its last leg, babe, and I just don't know what to do.
I wish I could be there to help.
Being away is always difficult, but it doesn't mean you can't make decisions together. You can count on us to keep your family comfortable.
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
When are you coming home?
It's gonna be soon. Faster than you know it, I'll be home.
Breathe easy. Choose McAfee. It's easy to take the air in your home for granted. But it's not just about being hot or cold. It's about having clean air. For some of us, this is critical. At McAfee, we'll provide you with long-term solutions to improve the air you breathe.
Do you need your inhaler, bud? Oh, I'm good, thanks.
Breathe easy. Choose McAfee.
We welcome you back here to the TKDS Sports Network and Sports Now. Moving on down the list, we'll start with Division 2. Let's go to Division 2, Region 8. The number 1 seed, Anderson. The Raptors take down 5 seed Harrison, 50-36. Withrow handles Troy, 42-14. We'll see Anderson versus Withrow next week in the regional final for Region 8. For Region 7, Massillon, Washington. The Tigers continuing their tremendous run this season. They take down Uniontown Lake 35-6. Green over Canal Winchester, a 3/2 seed. Green will take on Massillon, Washington. That game will decide Region 7. On to Region 6. Avon takes down Olmsted Falls 33-23. Highland beats Anthony Wayne 31-10. And once again, that's another 3 seed over a 2 seed, a common theme here for Division 2. Avon will face Highland next week. That game decides Region 6. And last but not least, Region 5, Archbishop Hoban, they blank Riverside 21-0. And Wash Jesuit takes and handles Hudson. They beat them by 3 touchdowns, 35-14. And a good matchup in Region 5 for the regional final. Hoban, Wash Jesuit, a trip to the state Final Four on the line for both those teams.
I'll tell you what matchup I've got my eyes on, and it's not just because we're from the Southwest region, but you've got 2 high-octane, explosive offenses in the Raptors of Anderson and the Tigers of Withrow facing off against each other to decide who is going to represent Region 8. I don't think we can ask for a better matchup. If you like offensive games, you better watch or keep an eye out for that one, because Anderson, off the top of my head, I would say they probably average 40 to 50 points a game on the season. Withrow, probably 35 to 45 points per game on the season. So you're going to have two high-octane, explosive offenses facing off against each other. I'm excited to keep an eye out and watch how that game's going to play out, because it should be a phenomenal one. And like I said, if you like offensive games, you definitely got to keep your eye out for Anderson versus Withrow, because I wouldn't be surprised if that game combined score between both teams, it's probably going to reach 70-plus points combined, maybe more. I'm not saying it's going to hit 100.
I'm going to go out and say a hot take. I think it does hit 100. I think that game hits 100 combined, because we have one high-powered offense and Anderson that's been putting up 40 to 50 points a game, and Withrow, for the regular season, they've been putting up right around the similar amount of points. That Withrow team, the Anderson team, it's going to be an offensive shootout in that game. Both teams have some solid defenses, but going up against high-caliber offense such as these two teams, I think it's going to be an offensive shootout. But now, since I said that, the announcer's jinx is going to come into play, and now we're going to see a defensive game. It's going to be a 6-3 final score, something along those lines.
I was going to say it's going to be like 10-9.
The announcer's jinx will come and play it in, but I think that the combined score for this game is going to be over 100 points.
Yeah, should be good.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
Oh, I'll let you go, John. I've been taking your time. You can go.
He said that you are done. He said, "Hush, Matt, it's my turn."
I've done that twice now. Sorry about that. So, how about Green, though? It's against the Canal Winchester team that was 4th in the AP poll. Green comes out on top 10-0, and in particular, blanking Canal Winchester. So, a very impressive performance. Yeah, Canal Winchester's had some shaky offensive performances, especially against Watkins Memorial a week ago. With only a 7-3 win, but still, anytime you get a win over a top 5 team in the AP poll, it's still a very, very solid win for Green. And it's some really good matchups as well. Avon and Highland, and should be a solid one. Archbishop Hoban is going to be a school to look out for as well. So Division 2 is looking really solid.
Yeah, Division 2, Region 5, that's could be the matchup in the state. I know we've said that for a couple of regional finals, but just like back in Region 28, Division 7, the first region we talked about on this show, we're going to see the number 1 seed and the number 2 seed, Archbishop Hoban, Wash Jesuit. Not only are they the 1 versus 2 seed in Region 5, they're the 1 and 2 team in the state of Ohio. Hoban being the 1 team in the state of Ohio, according to the AP poll. Wash Jesuit coming in closely behind as the 2nd. So just like the same situation between Ansonia and Marion Local way back in Region 28, what we talked about at the beginning of the show, we have the same situation arising here in Region 5. Hoban, Wash Jesuit, that's going to be a tremendous game, and I will say this, whoever wins that matchup, I think is going to be your eventual state champions.
I would say you've got to keep your eyes out, obviously. Hoban, Walsh Jesuit, like you mentioned, that is going to be a dogfight of a game who is going to come out of Region 5, but I think you've also got to keep your eye out for the Tigers of Massillon, Washington, with how good they've been so far. And I went ahead and just crunched the numbers real quick. Anderson is averaging 42 points a game. Withrow is averaging 38 points a game. So that game is definitely going to be an explosive game when it comes to the offensive side, and it's also two teams right around I think it's 4 and 6 is their final ranking from the AP poll after week 10. So you've got two really good teams facing off against each other in Region 8, but whoever comes out of Region 5, like you mentioned, Jackson, I wouldn't say that they're a lock to win state, but they're definitely one of the favorites, whoever comes out of Region 5, whether it be Hoban or Walsh Jesuit. Whoever comes out of that region is definitely going to have a lot of praises and a lot of hopes of being the state champion this year for Division 2.
And one of the reasons why I came out and said that that's a team that has high expectations to win it, and that's one of the teams that, ultimately probably would be the favorite coming out of that one. And the reason why I say that is because Massillon, Washington, right now in Division 2, they're the favorite. But at the end of the day, what is their kryptonite? Hoban. So if Hoban ends up coming out in that one, there's a very good chance we could see Massillon, Washington, and Hoban. And boy, what a game would that be as well. Moving on to Division 1, let's go into Region 4. Region 4, number 5 seed, the Moeller Crusaders destroyed the 9 seed Mason. Mason, that tremendous defense falters, and their Cinderella run comes to a close. Moeller 38, Mason 3. Lakota West, they get their revenge on their Week 2 loss against the Princeton Vikings, ending Princeton's perfect season on the year, 19-7, the final score in that one. Into Region 3, number 4 seed, Upper Arlington took down number 1, Gahanna-Lincoln. That is also the number 2 team in the state of Ohio. Gahanna-Lincoln was 12-7, the final score on that. And we saw Hilliard-Bradley take down the 3 seed, Pick North, 19-0. Upper Arlington, Hilliard-Bradley, that's your Region 3 regional final. Into Region 2, number 2 seed Olentangy Berlin takes down number 7 seed Dublin Kaufman 24-7. And how about this? The Cinderella run for the Springfield Wildcats continues. The 12th seed takes down the 1 seed Olentangy 37-24. We'll talk about the Wildcats here in just a couple of minutes. And finally, last but not least, Region 1, number 1 seed St. Edwards beats number 4 seed Canton McKinley 41-17. Medina takes down Cleveland Heights 21-20. Medina St. Edwards will be your Region 1 regional final, Guys, going back to Region 2, the Springfield Wildcats, this is a team that struggled all year long. It was not the same Wildcats team through the regular season, but Coach Mo Douglas, he even said, just let him into the playoffs and he will figure it out. He certainly has done just that. And the biggest thing right now for the Springfield Wildcats is they're not on their 5th string quarterback anymore. And in fact, they have a healthy roster, and it's shown in this postseason.
And yeah, that's one thing for this Wildcats team that we've seen in years past them be more of an air raid team, a team that's throwing the football a lot more than they are running the football. But you take a look at the spread when it comes to running plays to passing plays yesterday. They ran 54 total plays, 14 of them were passes. We saw Upshaw go 9 for 14, 159 yards and a touchdown. He also threw a pick in that game. But 40 carries on the ground for 262 yards for the Wildcats of Springfield. It's a complete flip from what we've seen this Springfield team do offensively in years past. And the one thing you got to keep an eye, or the one thing you got to look at with how Springfield played this game, it was 18-9 going into the 4th quarter. Springfield scored 28 points in the 4th quarter to win that football game. I think it's safe to say that this Cinderella run very well could continue for this Wildcats team, because 28 points, obviously they only got held to 9 through the first 3 quarters, but 28 points in the 4th quarter, that tells me one thing about this Wildcats team. No matter how down they are, no matter how far behind they are in a game, they are going to keep fighting and they are going to keep themselves in the game. And that's one thing you got to expect from this Springfield Wildcats team. Whoever faces off against them in the remainder of this postseason, if you're facing off against Springfield, you've got to play a full 4 quarters. Otherwise, this Wildcats team, they're going to jump back at you. We saw what they did to Olentangy last night. There's a chance Springfield, if you let them cook a little bit and let them do what they want to do in the 4th quarter, there's a good chance that the Wildcats are going to make you pay for it.
Yeah, and there's a very good reason why at the very beginning of the year I had Springfield as one of my teams to watch. I really felt like with the receiving core that they had, that they would be an offensive juggernaut. Of course, obviously injuries derailed that plan throughout the regular season, but in particular, Springfield showing me that they can run the ball fairly well. So impressive performance from the Wildcats. Well, in general, just a 12 seed beating a 1, especially this late, is incredibly rare, but especially considering the season that Springfield had in the regular season, they're starting to shake off a lot of the doubters that I had, if anything, throughout the regular season. So really good performance from Springfield. Looking forward to see how these other matchups go.
And with that being said, it is time for a break. When we return, hour number 2 of this show will start. We are hoping to have some guests lined up for hour number 2 as well. So with that being said, we'll step aside and we'll be back here on the TKDS Sports Network.
At McAfee, we understand that life doesn't stop when something in your home breaks down. Our customers count on us to be there, ready when they need us.
Is there anything else you need from me?
No, sir. I have all the information I need.
Great, thanks. Just lock the door on the way out.
Thank you.
Let us get your home up and running again. Breathe easy. Choose McAfee.
Let's call Daddy. Hi, Daddy.
Hi!
How you doing?
So the furnace is on its last leg, babe. And I just don't know what to do.
I wish I could be there to help.
Being away is always difficult, but it doesn't mean you can't make decisions together. You can count on us to keep your family comfortable.
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
When are you coming home?
It's gonna be soon. Faster than you know it, I'll be home.
Breathe easy. Choose McAfee. Every day, we find ourselves on a path full of decisions.
It's me.
Sometimes small and sometimes big. Sometimes alone and sometimes together. At McAfee, everything we do is done with your comfort, health, and convenience in mind. She always wanted the best for you, and now you can rest knowing you've provided the best for her. Breathe easy. Choose McAfee.
We welcome you back here to the TKDS Sports Network. Jackson Lightcap, Matthew Pennington, Sean Snyder, and on the line we have Coach George Howard, the host of the George Howard Show. That airs on the TKDS Sports Network every Sunday evening. So make sure to watch his show every Sunday evening, I believe at 7 p.m. on any TKDS social media. But Coach Howard, he works a lot of football games, especially up in the Columbus area. So he brings in a lot of knowledge on some of the Columbus teams and some of the Columbus scores. And Coach Howard, you know, you called me last night, and the first thing you said on our phone call was upset city in Columbus.
Hey, it was crazy. It was crazy here in Columbus, and you know, it just goes to show you that you have to play each and every game.
Absolutely. And, you know, we mentioned, you say you have to play every inch and every game. And Coach Howard, obviously in Division I, especially in Region 3, Pickerington North and Gahanna-Lincoln, two of the favorites to take that region, ultimately going down. Hilliard-Bradley, the 2 seed, they're moving on. Their face-off against Upper Arlington, and that has the makings for being a great regional final as well.
Well, I tell you, it really took me by surprise because I don't think anybody down here, probably except for the Hilliard-Bradley fans, thought that they would beat Pickerington North. But even though they are a very good football team, but all year long it's been Gahanna and Pickerington North here, and that's just kind of how everybody thought it would go.
Not to mention, you look at some of the lower divisions, and how about Harvest Prep? Harvest Prep, a big win over Ironton as well in the Division 5 matchup. And Harvest Prep, they're punching their ticket to the regional final as well. Some great football being played in Columbus, and there's a lot of Columbus teams, Coach, that there are a lot of teams in that Columbus region that have high expectations on possibly bringing home a state title, whether it be for Division 1 all the way through Division 7.
Yes, there is. I mean, when you look at some of the scores yesterday, you see how Dublin Kaufman beat Olentangy Berlin, and then the real shocker is Upper Arlington beating Gahanna Lincoln, which I had picked to go to the regional finals to play Pick North, and then I actually had Pick North to beat Gahanna in an upset of the game they played a few weeks ago. Bishop Watterson beat Bloom Carroll yesterday, 20-10. And then Springfield. Now, there's a story to talk about right there. Didn't finish the season with a great record, and coach down there has them on a roll right now. And they beat one of the top quarterbacks in the country that's going to Penn State, Olentangy Braves, 37-24. And Springfield now, watch out for Springfield Wildcats because they're playing well right now.
Now, Coach,
West Jefferson down here in Columbus beat Fort Fry 49-30, and Canal Winchester lost to Green. They had a great season. Green out of the Canton area beat them 10-0. And then Granville lost to Bell Fountain, who has the big-time quarterback down there, 29-21. And Sheridan upset Bishop Hartley 34-27, but Sheridan has a storied program, so they do well down there. And then one of the big upsets that you mentioned was Harvest Prep coming back, beating Ironton. Harvest Prep, man, they seem to do it year in and year out. They have a great program over there at Harvest Prep.
And Coach Howard, the last time we talked, it was on a Thursday show, and you were speaking very highly on the Harvest Prep Warriors. Harvest Prep, you said that there's a lot of hype surrounding them this season in the Columbus region, that this is their season. This is their season to possibly bring home a state championship. And the biggest question was, in that region, could they take down the Ironton Fighting Tigers, a team that went to the state championship previous year? They lost. They had a chip on their shoulder. They've been playing very tough, dominating football all season long. That was the biggest question mark for Harvest Prep. Harvest Prep took them down by 6. They have another tough matchup going up against Wheelersburg. But just as you mentioned on our Thursday show when we talked a couple weeks ago, you said that this is Harvest Prep's season. And really, what's gone into making this such a special season for the Warriors of Harvest Prep?
Well, I think that Harvest Prep, they're just an all-around team. They're tough, they're gritty, they're physical. They have a great running game. They're very athletic. They come at you defensively and offensively. They pound the ball. So it's going to be tough for anybody to beat them. I think it's going to be tough for Willingsburg to beat them. I mean, I think Ironton was probably number 1 in the state, weren't they?
Yes, for Division 5, we can double check that right now. I know that they were top 5.
They were number 3.
I think
3, yes.
They were number 3.
Yeah, we didn't have the number off the top of our head. Matt beat me to it looking on the AP poll for the OHSAA. But yeah, they were number 3. So Ironton, again, they played with a chip on their shoulder. Such a tremendous program throughout the state of Ohio. Such a tremendous program. And such an incredible season that Ironton was able to put together, not just last season, but this season as well. And Ironton, the Fighting Tigers, they're going to be graduating a tremendous senior class. But Harvest Prep, again, they're moving on. And ultimately, there's a lot of hype around them saying that this is their year when it comes to Division 5. Obviously, a lot of great teams, especially in Region 20, the Southwest region that we've talked about on this show. But Division 5, such a tough division to possibly come out in front. But Harvest Prep, they're up there with one of the best.
Well, I'll tell you how good of a game it was. The final score was 20-14. Harvest Prep scored 6 points in the first quarter, 14 points in the second quarter, and didn't score the rest of the game. Ironton scored 0 in the first quarter, 7 in the second quarter, and then they scored a touchdown late third quarter, but didn't score fourth quarter. So it actually really was a second half defensive battle. I think Ironton came out and scored on their first possession, and that was it. Harvest Prep clamped down, stopped them throughout the game, and it was a pretty good game, man. And Harvest Prep came away with the win. Now, where is Wheeling ranked at? I'm not sure. Willingsburg. Do you know?
I know they're not top 10, and they're not in mentioning for just outside, so they're definitely not a top 10 team in the state right now.
I'll tell you something. In that division, I think Harvest Prep can win the state this year. And if they lose, it's probably because they're going to beat themselves.
And Coach Howard, we talk about there's a lot of other teams in the Columbus region that have high expectations at winning a state title, and especially in Division I, Region 3, when you had Hilliard Bradley, they took down Pickerington North 2 over a 3 seed, and then also Upper Arlington upsetting and stunning Gahanna Lincoln. Gahanna Lincoln heading into that game were the number 2 team in the state of Ohio. They had high expectations to make it to the state Final Four. They had expectations to win the state title as well, even going up against the powerhouse up north, such as Lakewood St. Edwards. But at the end of the day, it's Upper Arlington that gets the better of Gahanna Lincoln. And Coach Howard, now this really brings me into your question. You're from the Columbus region. You know a lot of the teams, and you see them each and every week as well. To you, who are some of the top dogs that have a legitimate chance of taking down some of the other teams in the other regions to bring home a state title to the Columbus region?
I'll tell you what. I liked Olentangy Braves, but last night after they got beat, I think that when you look at Upper Arlington, they're well coached. Very, very tough defensively. They come at you. Offensively, they have a good running game and can hit that pass when they need to. But when you talk about Hilliard Bradley, hey, they just punch you in the mouth. And they come at you and they play great defense. So I think that game next week between Bradley and Upper Arlington is going to be one good game. But then when you talk about Dublin Kaufman, they're battle tested. They've been there before. They know what it takes to get there. So it's going to be interesting to see with the few teams you have left coming out of Columbus. But I think that the regional finalists that come out of here, I think, is going to have a chance to win the state. Absolutely. And when you get downstate, man, you know, anybody can win at any given time. It's just, you know, hey, how you play that particular game.
Yeah, and one thing you mentioned, Coach Howard, that Dublin Kaufman, they've been there before. They had a big win in the regional semifinal, but they're going to be going up against a team that we were just talking about, the powerhouse in the Springfield Wildcats. And right before you called in, we were talking about the Wildcats. They are now healthy. They are, in the regular season, they were going through a rough patch, but they were on their 5th string quarterback for a couple of games. And Springfield, they entered the playoffs. Coach Mo Douglas even said, just let him make the playoffs and he will fix it. That's exactly what he did. Springfield, more of a run-heavy team this season. It's been effective, though. 37-24 win over Olentangy, and the 12 seed, the Springfield Wildcats. Them healthy, that is a scary, scary sight for the rest of the state of Ohio.
Well, Springfield, Coach Douglas is my guy. He does a great job down there. Strong man of God, and he allows his faith to lead him, and he does a great job with those young guys down there. And they're full of speed and explosiveness. And I'll tell you what, they don't stop. They come at you, you know, 4 quarters. And if you're not prepared to come back at them for 4 quarters, it's not going to be your game. I look for this to be a really good game, but I look to pick, I can't say.
It's going to be an absolutely incredible matchup, and it's going to be, I mean, the regional finals, it's the Elite 8 for every single division across the state of Ohio, and 28 regions, 28 games left to play in the regional finals as well. So, Coach Howard, thanks for joining us. Before we let you go, we want to talk to you about this. What is your top game to watch for next week in the Columbus area?
Well, I would say my top game would be Hilliard-Bradley and Upper Arlington.
Should be an absolutely incredible matchup. Two great teams from the Columbus region going at it in the Region 3 regional final. Coach Howard, thanks again for taking time out of your busy day.
I'm looking forward to you and I, man, doing some of this basketball. It's coming up. I'm getting excited about it.
Coach Howard, he is a big basketball guy, and basketball season is right around the corner. And in fact, Coach Howard, if you want to plug in your basketball show, the Coach Howard Show, once again, on any TKDS Sports Network social media page and on any Coach Howard Show social media page Sunday evening. Make sure to watch it live. Coach Howard, anything to plug there?
Well, you can watch me, as you said, also on YouTube under the Coach Howard Show. Next Sunday will be my high school preseason special part 1, and then we'll come back the following week with part 2, and we'll talk to several coaches about their upcoming seasons, some of their players, and what we can look for in these schools for this season. I'm excited about the high school season coming up, and I can't wait. It's exciting. But right now, I'm excited about these football playoffs and who's going to come out in a couple of weeks as the state champion.
Once again, that is the voice of Coach George Howard for the TKDS Sports Network. Coach Howard, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend.
You as well. Time for a break. We'll be back here shortly on the TKDS Sports Network.
It's easy to take the air in your home for granted. But it's not just about being hot or cold. It's about having clean air. For some of us, this is critical. At McAfee, we'll provide you with long-term solutions to improve the air you breathe.
Do you need your inhaler, bud? Oh, I'm good, thanks.
Breathe easy. Choose McAfee. At McAfee, we understand that life doesn't stop when something in your home breaks down. Our customers count on us to be there, ready when they need us.
Is there anything else you need from me?
No, sir. I have all the information I need.
Great, thanks. Just lock the door on the way out.
Thank you.
Let us get your home up and running again. Breathe easy. Choose McAfee.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you back here to the TKDS Sports Network. Jackson Lightcap alongside Matthew Pennington, John Snyder, and we are joined with a special guest, John Spark, a play-by-play voice from Southeastern Ohio. John, can you hear us? Everything sound okay?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Sounds good. Good morning, everybody.
Well, absolutely great to have you on this show. Super excited to have you on this show as well. John, thanks for taking time out of your busy morning here to talk to us.
Oh yeah, hey, it's a pleasure. I always like talking high school football, especially this time of year.
Absolutely. Southeast Ohio, obviously, of course, known for some great football as well. But John, before we get into all the action from the regional semifinals and the matchups for the regional final next week, tell us just a little bit about yourself and who you work for as well.
Well, I got started last year with Collins Career and Technical Center. That's a school here in Lawrence County, Ohio. And they've got a digital media class for high school students, and they needed some guys to do some play-by-play. So we started last year just doing my alma mater, Sims Valley, just doing their games. And this year we spread out and done all of Lawrence County and got into some schools from Scioto County. And so we had 3 Ironton games this year, so we knew a lot about them and got to do both of their playoff games with you guys through TKDS Network and Sports Network. And so we had a good season, and I'm just a guy that likes to talk. So they asked me to do it, and I've always loved sports, so yeah, it was a perfect match, and we had a good year, and I'm just very fortunate to be able to call football and basketball games. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Such tremendous. And you say you're a guy who likes to talk. Matt and I were in the same boat. And somebody asks us technical problems, and we're like, I don't know. We just like to talk.
Well, that was the great thing about, what I get to do with those students and stuff, that show up. They set everything up, and that's what I would say every broadcast. They do a great job. All I have to do is show up and put the headset on and start talking. So it's and get to talk about something that, that I thoroughly enjoy, which is high school athletics.
Absolutely. And everybody behind the scenes definitely needs a lot more love as well, because without them, none of this would be possible. And of course, thank you once again. It's been a great partnership with the TKDS Sports Network as well, bringing playoff games in all 28 regions, all 4 quadrants of the state as well. So once again, John Smark with us here for the TKDS Sports Network and Sports Now. John, let's take a look at some of the Southeastern Ohio. You talked about Ironton and the Fighting Tigers. We just talked about them in the previous segment with our guest, Coach Howard. Coach Howard, he's a Columbus guy, and Harvest Prep took down Ironton yesterday in a bit of a shocker.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't as shocked as what I've been reading online and stuff, just because of Harvest Prep, what I'd read on them and how improved they were, especially on defense, and just the speed that they are able to show there on defense. It was such a good game. I wasn't able to see it. I listened to the Ironton game while I watched the Wheelersburg game, and but it was a great game last night. Ironton just coming up short. Both offenses kind of struggled. Defenses played really well. There was a defensive score with both teams, with Harvest Prep with a pick 6, and then Ironton turning the ball over inside the 5 with a fumble, and then the next play Harvest Prep fumbles, and scary Sean Terry for Ironton picks it up and runs it in. So it was a great ball game, and Harvest Prep, Wheelersburg's going to have their hands full next week.
Absolutely. And John, we were talking about Wheelersburg, and you said that you were able to pay attention to a little bit of that game as well. And talk to us a little bit about Wheelersburg and what they bring to the table, because this is a team, I don't want to necessarily say a Cinderella run, because this is a very good football program, but at the same time, they're the 7th seed, making it all the way to the regional final. Not only that, not even an honorable mention in the AP poll, entering the postseason. So a bit of a shock that Wheelersburg may be there, but again, at the same time, not a shock because of the history that they have and the tremendous football program that they've had in years past.
Oh yeah, of course. And now, Wheelersburg, a tough start to the season. The first 2 games of the year, you play Ironton first game, and then they play Harvest Prep the second game. So the score game was, let's see. I'll have to look. I don't have it in front of me. I think they got beat 32-16, something. So, they played second game of the year. And so, but I believe Wheelersburg, as the year went, just better and better, and finally figuring some things out. And so it'll be a good game. Now Creed Warren is running back for Wheelersburg. Had a great game last night. I think he scored 3 touchdowns for Wheelersburg, and Wheelersburg can run the ball. But last night you saw Harvest Prep. That's what they done to Ironton. They stopped their run and forced Ironton to have to throw the ball a lot, and they would have 2 to 3 guys on their best receiver, which is Sean Terry for Ironton. And so if Harvest Prep can load the box and keep the Wheelersburg passing game to a minimum, Harvest Prep maybe headed to the state.
And Harvest Prep, again, a lot of expectations around that team from the Columbus area. A lot of hype going into that team saying that this is their season. But Wheelersburg, the team that can stand in their way from stopping Harvest Prep from going to state. And we talk about it so many times on this show, Matt, you and I do, that it's so hard to beat an opponent 2 times in the same season. Harvest Prep, Wheelersburg, this is a rematch from week 6 when Harvest Prep, you got the score right, John. It was 32-16 in favor of Harvest Prep over Wheelersburg. But again, it's so hard to beat a team twice in the same season, especially this deep into the postseason. So the question is, what's going to give? It's going to be a terrific game. And to be honest, I think it's going to be a lot closer of a game than what it was last time.
Yeah, I for sure think so. I think Wheelersburg, like I said, as the year went, I believe that they really have gotten better, especially on defense. Their run defense has improved, and offensively they've gotten better, but they were already pretty good. Now, Harvest Prep did come to Wheelersburg and beat them, and that's a pretty good trip for Harvest Prep. So now being a neutral field, of course, but it'd be interesting just to see how far Wheelersburg has come as the season has went, and it just should be a really good game, really good matchup for a regional final.
And what is Wheelersburg going to have to do to take down Harvest Prep and avenge their Week 6 loss in the regular season?
I think they're going to have to be able to run the football, even if Harvest loads the box like they did against night, where they were putting sometimes 7, 8 guys in the box because of the sets that Ironton was running. And if Wheelersburg is able to get Creed Warren going, they will. It could be very interesting. That's what they'll have to be able to do. They'll have to be able to run the football, and if Harvest Prep is able to stop that run, they will have to be able to throw it. They're going to have to be able to get open and be able to throw it. But like I say, Harvest Prep with the speed they have and speed on both sides of the football. Defense last night impressed me against Ironton.
So again, we talk about Southeast Ohio, a terrific Southeast Ohio. Very, very, a lot of great schools in Southeast Ohio when it comes to football. Of course, Ironton, their run that they had a season ago, a historical program there, and a lot of history in Southeast Ohio as well. And John, there's a lot of schools in Southeast Ohio that are looking to add to that history. And heading into the regional final, who do you think are some of the strongest teams and strongest contenders to take a trip to Canton and bring home a state title back to Southeast Ohio?
Well, you've still got Reedsville Eastern still alive. They won last night, 21-14 there over Hannibal River, and not a historically football team. They're a historically strong basketball team, but have a great run this year, number 1 in the region, and looking to take on, I believe, Caldwell here next week, who beat another Southeast Ohio team, Waterford, who was kind of a surprise team, the 7th team in the region, and put up a really good fight last night against Caldwell, going down 20-13. But Reedsville Eastern, very good shot here next week. That should be a very interesting game. And
John, obviously, Southeastern Ohio, one thing that's special about Southeastern Ohio, maybe than Southwest, Northeast, Northwest, the other quadrants of the state, is Southeast Ohio, a lot of smaller communities down there. So a lot of people in the Southeast Ohio, they're small towns where it's a town like everybody knows each other. And when you're playing football in Southeast Ohio in some of these small towns, you have a lot of friends that are going to the other schools that you're meeting up with here this late in the postseason as well, which really amounts for some great competition for the communities, not just the communities, but for the players and kids on the field as well.
Oh yeah, and it's always great, because being such small schools, everybody kind of roots for each other this time of year. So Sims Valley has had some good years. That's where I went to school, but we were Ironton. We were for Williamsburg. We was rooting for Waterford last night. Everybody kind of sticks together because understands that sometimes it takes a pretty magical year just to get to Canton, just to get past the regionals. It's so everybody down this way always reach for each other. Everybody knows somebody, and it's a pretty vast, pretty big area. What we're talking about, and it's just great to see schools down here continue to play and being in the regional finals. We got two left, so hopefully one of those two can bring it home.
Yeah, and especially this late into the postseason, competition gets a lot more stiffer. It's going to be an incredible next Friday with a trip to the state Final Four on the line. John, let's take a look at back all the previous playoffs for the within Southeast Ohio. And to you, what have been some glaring upsets that we've seen? And especially as the OHSA from a couple years ago switched from an 18 playoff per region to 16, we're starting to see a lot more upsets. We saw a 15 versus 2 seed. We saw Urbana take down Chillicothe Unioto here in kind of our region, southwest to central Ohio region as well. But John, in Southeast Ohio, what's been some big upsets down there throughout the OHSA playoffs?
Well, with the smaller divisions, in my opinion, the 16 teams doesn't cause as many upsets as you would see in your Division 1s and Division 2s, your bigger divisions. But there have been some pretty exciting games. Willersburg coming in as the 7th seed. Now, they started out 0-2, which makes it tough, but their run has been impressive. As far as local games, Waterford was another team that, being the 7th team in the region and doing what they've done, as far as coming through with getting to the semifinals. If I take a look here, Notre Dame, winning their first playoff game and then coming back and losing in the second round. They're always a very strong team. Portsmouth, the Trojans from down in Portsmouth, they had a really good season playing in a tough conference OVC with Ironton being in the OVC, and Ironton's last year in the OVC as they'll go back to independent next year.
Certainly a great storyline circling around the Ironton Tigers. And John, once again, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy morning to join us. Real quick, before we let you go, what's your biggest matchup to watch out for in Southeast Ohio this week?
I'm going to say the Willersburg Harvest Prep game is going to be one to watch just to see where Willersburg has come since that second game of the year and to see Harvest Prep, what they try to do to stop Willersburg and their running back Creed Warren. So that should be the matchup for us this week.
Well, once again, John Spark, thank you for joining us, and we hope to talk to you here on our future show as well, Thursdays and Saturdays from here on out for the OHSA postseason.
I would love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time and joining us. Once again, John Spark from Southeast Ohio, and CTC partnered with the TKDS Sports Network. Time for a break. We have one more guest coming up when we return. It'll be Tim Capel. That's coming up next on the TKDS Sports Network.
At McAfee, we understand that life doesn't stop when something in your home breaks down. Our customers count on us to be there, ready when they need us.
Is there anything else you need from me?
No, sir. I have all the information I need.
Great, thanks. Just lock the door on the way out.
Thank you.
Let us get your home up and running again. Breathe easy. Choose McAfee. At McAfee, we understand that life doesn't stop when something in your home breaks down. Our customers count on us to be there, ready when they need us.
Is there anything else you need from me?
No, sir, I have all the information I need.
Great, thanks. Just lock the door on the way out.
Thank you.
Let us get your home up and running again. Breathe easy. Choose McAfee. At McAfee, we understand that life doesn't stop when something in your home breaks down. Our customers count on us to be there, ready when they need us.
Is there anything else you need from me?
No, sir, I have all the information I need.
Great, thanks. Just lock the door on the way out.
Thank you.
Let us get your home up and running again. Breathe easy. Choose McAfee.
Well, we welcome you back here to the TKDS Sports Network. Jackson Lightcap alongside Matthew Pennington, and we are also joined now with our guest, Tim Capel, as well. Tim Capel, an employee of the TKDS Sports Network. He's from just outside the Cincinnati area. He covers a lot of Batavia High School as well. And Tim, once again, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us here this morning. Can you hear us?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Tim, once again, thanks for taking some time out of your busy schedule to join us. We know that you've been super busy doing your dad things as well, and also covering games for the TKDS Sports Network. And you had a tremendous broadcast last night between the Wyoming and Springfield Shawnee game. Take us through that game a little bit.
I'll tell you what, yeah, busy. It's been nice to get out and work for the TKDS. I'm getting a little back. We've had problems trying to get that, but got tonight, had a really good time. Huge hospitality, Subway sandwiches. It was great times. Our camera guy, so trying, like I said, getting a lot of feedback here. You still hear me okay?
Yeah, we're having some issues right now. Jackson's trying to figure it out, so
it's all right. You okay though?
It's cutting in and out. Jackson's right now staring at me, asking if it sounds better, and it does sound a little bit better. So hopefully,
sounds a little bit better. Well, it's good to hear your voice, Matt. The last time I saw you,
it was a while ago,
doing a Division III semifinal, not Springfield Shawnee, but it was Preble Shawnee up there at your alma mater, Fairmont.
Yeah, it was a little while ago. Jackson's back now, though, so you get to listen to him and deal with him.
Yeah, we had a service issue, but yeah, nonetheless, yeah, tremendous game last night between Wyoming and Springfield Shawnee. Tim, just as you said.
Well, I'll bring you up to date on it. Basically, Shawnee drove down the first drive, and it looked like it was going to be all Shawnee. They came, and basically TJ Meeks, I mean, this guy is a beast in the field as a running back. He is running roughshod all over the Cowboys. And me and Rob Sattler, my co-broadcaster, that was the way the game was going to go. But the Shawnee couldn't get anything going, and even the Cowboys, they were getting into the red zone. They got in the red zone 3 times, and each time one was a turnover on downs, the other one was an interception in the end zone, and then they're actually Carter Rummer, one of the best players I've seen in the Southwest area, other than Ian McGinnis from Clinton Massey, missed a chip shot for him. It was probably a 35, 37 yarder, which I know in high school 37 doesn't seem like a chip shot, but for him it is. And then unfortunately it hit the goalpost wide left and bounced off, and they were just struggling to score in the first half, but were able to, right before the first half ended, after TJ Meeks unfortunately went through a little fumbling episode. He fumbled twice. The Cowboys were able to put one in right before half, so went into half 6. Cowboys were up. Come out of half, 3 and out for the Cowboys, basically. A couple penalties, and Shawnee took over, and guess what? They quarterback out, so the Braves decided to go with 2 running backs, TJ Meeks and Brim in the backfield. They were just direct snapping it to TJ Meeks, and on their first drive down the field, and it looks like it was going to be all back, and Shawnee goes up 14-7, and again, it was like, oh my gosh, like Shawnee figured it out, but they stalled, and the Cowboys started to kind of make some back and forth. It was a big game, and all of a sudden, after some injuries, actually, to the top wide receiver of the Cowboys, number 5 Miller made a great catch in the corner of the end zone for a touchdown and ties it up, and then go ahead and, with a touchdown to DJ Gray, and in the last couple seconds there in the fourth quarter, and that's how it was. 21-20 was the final. I think we got this game of the weekend, Jackson. Man, it was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely incredible game, and really the only game in the Southwest region that I think may have been able to top it was Anna and Tri-Village, a 56-51 shootout, especially if you're an offensive guy. If you're old school, if you like defense, that game may not have been for you. Tim, obviously, you do a lot of coverage for Batavia coming out of the SBAAC, and another team coming out of the SBAAC, Clinton Massey, the Falcons. They get upset. The number 1 team in the state of Ohio, they lose 21-3 last night against the Alter Knights. Your thoughts?
Bringing that up, man, I was actually hoping to get that game. Unfortunately, Rob and I couldn't get that one. But if you see what happened, unfortunately, going down, only scoring 3 points. Tim McGinnis, obviously, one of the best kickers, was able to get at least 3-pointer up there on the board for the Falcons. But for the Falcons have had a tough road. They lost their starting running back, and I even think they lost second string running back about midway through the season. So they've been holding on to basically what they do right, and that's the triple option. We talked about this, Jackson. They basically, whoever's there, they're next up mentality. But when you take down the best running back and you take them out and then put them up against a really good defense, Alter, you're not going to get many yards.
Yeah, and this is an Alter team that at the very beginning of the season, they struggled. They were up big against the Fairmont Firebirds. Again, Fairmont Alter, a big rivalry in Kettering. It's the Battle of Kettering for a reason. And it was opening night. They always play that game on Thursday night to open up the season. And they were up in that game heading into the fourth quarter, 21 to... Actually, I beg your pardon, Fairmont was up in that one. And Alter, they were able to claw their way back into it, but obviously just came up short. They took down Thurgood Marshall, Meadowdale. They lost to Trotwood Madison. And heading into week 5, this is an Alter team that was sitting 2-2 on the season. And Alter, a historically great football program, but over the last couple of years or so, they haven't been as great. And that was a question that Matt and I were asking. Is this a year where Alter will be able to get back to what they were, say, a decade ago? Or over the last couple of years, this is an Alter team that it's following a similar trend? And since we asked that, Matt, Alter, they beat Bellbrook, they beat Carroll, they beat McNicholas, lost by 5 to Baden, beat Fenwick, CJ, Roger Bacon, Indian Hill, and Clinton Massey as well. So since their week 4 loss against Trotwood Madison, over their last 9 games, they've lost 1. The Alter Knights, they're playing their best football, in the postseason, entering the postseason as well. That's what you want. And the Knights, they have a very tough game going up against that same team that you saw last night, the Wyoming Cowboys. And again, the Wyoming Cowboys, they're interesting because this is a season and this is a team that, I'll go out and say this, you get the feel that the Wyoming Cowboys are not as strong this year as they have been in years past, but this is still a one-loss team. And that just speaks very highly on the Wyoming Cowboys. Again, they had a 75-game winning streak through the regular season, snapped this year against Indian Hill. That was their first regular season loss since 2015. And it just seems like this isn't the same Wyoming Cowboys team, but they're still only a one-loss team, and they're still a state championship caliber team. Speaks highly on that program. Wyoming and Alter, that game has all the makings, and it's got a great recipe for being a tremendous game, a terrific game with a trip to the state Final Four on the line.
Well, Jackson, if you were able to watch that game and watch it back, the game that Rob Sattler and I did between the Braves and the Cowboys, we call it the Indians and Cowboys game, but you can see Wyoming never backed down. They were down most of the game. So going into the end of the first half, they were down. They were able to score right before the end of the first half, and then last quarter they were able to get the lead. So they play a stout defense, and Deuce Wiley, number 55, gosh, he is fast. He probably has a total of 20 tackles for loss on the season now. You got to watch out for this guy. You're going to see him in division football, I guarantee it. He blocked a kick as well. So number 55, Deuce Wiley, went down for a couple minutes. Elbow problem, we don't want to speculate, but at the same time, he's a beast. He's a gamer. He came back in, made the final tackle, I would say a sack against quarterback Mitch Humphreys, and that finished the game. So, again, the defense of the Cowboys their offense may not be where it was last year, but I'm telling you, their defense is stacked on all sides. The front line gets to the backfield quick. They get to the quarterback quick. So the offense may not be there, but the quarterback in Deuce Howard, he's got a howitzer of an arm, but he also has a good soft touch. He can float one about 30 yards down the field. They got good. They're small receivers, but they're fast. Very good. Jump high. They make good catch traffic. What we saw last night for the first touchdown of the game was a 47-yard pass that tipped off the hands of 5 Miller and then landed into the breadbasket of Frederick, almost like they drew it up in the sand. Like, hey, Miller, you go up and tip it, and Frederick will be there to catch it. And he just walked into the end zone. So it may have looked lucky, but it all started with getting a good pass protection, and then just Howard throwing it up there again, soft touch. He's no joke. He may not have the stats that you see around, like you'll see from some of the quarterbacks, the top name quarterbacks, but Howard's there, and then they also got Hancock, number 24, in the backfield, who, I mean, they didn't quit giving it to him. He didn't quit running. His legs did not stop churning. He probably made about 8 pounds of butter last night.
And Tim, so obviously you live down just outside of the Cincinnati area within the 275 loop. And Tim, a lot of great teams, especially in that Cincinnati region, still alive. And who are your favorites to possibly be bringing home a state championship back to the Cincinnati area?
I mean, you got to look at Cincinnati's Anderson Raptors now. I mean, my old alma mater. I know Fairmont's out of it, your guys' old alma mater, but Division II, Anderson's always switching back and forth from Division I to Division II. When I was going there, we were always Division I. Always struggled. We played against teams like St. X, Moeller, Elder, the tough, hard Christian schools here in the Southwest region. But now they got bumped down to Division II. The last time Anderson was in Division II, they had a good run back in 2007. They were able to win the state championship. So keep an eye on that. But they're playing Withrow. Withrow's another good team. They're very familiar with them. So we'll see what happens. Withrow has Chris Henry Jr., so watch out for him. He transferred from the ECC school, West Claremont, last year to go back to Withrow. So keep an eye on him. He got 100 yards receiving in that last game. So you got to watch out for him. He's a game changer.
And you talk about some of the Division I schools down there that Anderson struggled with when they were Division I. And Anderson, the last couple of years when they've been Division II, they've been able to put together great postseason runs. Last year, they went to the regional final before they lost to Kings. Kings went to the state Final Four. What a tremendous squad that Kings squad was last season. But let's shift focus on to Division I, and we're talking Region 4. Moeller, Lakota West, that game, it should be a very fun one to watch. But the Moeller Crusaders, a tad underrated this season in the state of Ohio. And Matt, you've brought it up plenty of times on this show. It's because of the out-of-state competition that they've played. They've played multiple nationally ranked teams.
Well, Moeller right now, yeah, you're going to look at some of their schedule and you're going to see teams that you've never seen before, and they're going to have little parentheses at the bottom and say Florida, Texas, Indiana, Kentucky. So they've went through a murderer's row of national teams. Sorry about that. We're able to win their division. Obviously GCL South is probably one of the toughest divisions. Only has 4 schools in it though. So you're looking at the top teams though: Elder, St. X, and Moeller, and they were able to take down St. X. Probably their toughest competition. I really honestly believe. I think Moeller's going to run right over Lakota, and they're going to go straight to state. I mean, Moeller's defense is legit as good as some of the small school colleges around here. I would say. Yeah, I mean, we always talk about probably the best college could take out the worst NFL team. I know that's not real, but I would say Moeller, they have so many legit Division I possible defensive players that you're going to see playing on Saturdays, and then maybe in the future you see a couple of them playing on Sundays.
Absolutely. It should be absolutely incredible. The Moeller Crusaders, year in and year out, they are always a terrific team as well, and they're always this far in the postseason, so no surprise there. And obviously, if they are able to make it to the state Final Four, well, guess who else that they may be going up against? St. Edward's, and that is a powerhouse in Northern Ohio. Tim, once again, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today, and we hope to talk to you in the future, especially on our future Thursday and Saturday shows as well.
Oh, most definitely. Again, thanks for having me here, Jackson. It's been actually a whirlwind of just craziness around here with the amount of opportunities there is in the Southwest area, and hopefully TKDS can get a couple more opportunities for me and maybe for more people here to broadcast. But it's been a pleasure. Again, me and Jackson, and I got to meet Matt in person. So yeah, it's been a great time.
Absolutely. And for those of you out there watching and viewing this show right now, and if you're putting 2 and 2 together, this is Tim Capel, the Tim Capel from our Game Pick segment, and the Tim Capel that was in first place the entire year and now has choked, tied for or still in second. You're still up a game on me, but I'm coming back.
That's not a choke job. That is not a choke job. I was busy setting up and driving all the way out to Trotwood Madison High School last night. I did not want to mess up my stream. We had a great time. It set up well, and I was like, if I have time, I'll get on there. But man, yeah, I hate losing it because I knew I had the top spot in the game picks of the week. And when we talked last night, a lot of the picks I would have taken probably would have ended up doing right around 7-2, I want to say. But you guys were nice enough. I know I didn't make any picks. You guys are nice enough to give me about 50 on it, so 4 and 5. But, hey, there's still more football to go. I can still take you guys down.
I don't know. Matt's running away with it. But nonetheless, Tim, thanks again for taking time out of your busy schedule. Hopefully we'll talk to you again on Thursday or next Saturday as well.
All right. I'll talk to you later, Jackson. See you later there, Matt.
See ya. Once again, that is Tim Capel from the TKDS Sports Network. We're going to take one more break. When we return, we'll close out this 2-hour show. We'll be back.
Come on, guys, let's call Daddy. Hi, Daddy.
Hi. How you doing?
So the furnace is on its last leg, babe. And I just don't know what to do.
I wish I could be there to help.
Being away is always difficult, but it doesn't mean you can't make decisions together. You can count on us to keep your family comfortable.
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
When are you coming home?
It's gonna be soon. Faster than you know it, I'll be home.
Breathe easy. Choose McAfee.
Come on, guys, let's call Daddy. Hi, Daddy. Hi.
How you doing?
So the furnace is on its last leg, babe. And I just don't know what to do.
I wish I could be there to help.
Being away is always difficult, but it doesn't mean you can't make decisions together. You can count on us to keep your family comfortable.
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
When are you coming home?
It's gonna be soon. Faster than you know it, I'll be home.
Breathe easy. Choose McAfee.
We welcome you back to Sports Now. Final couple minutes of this show, but before we close out this 2-hour show, we want to talk about one thing. Matt, what's your upset for this week?
Well, I'm going to say seeding-wise, it's an upset, but when it comes down to what both of these teams bring to the table, I don't think many people are going to see it as an upset. My upset, Region 4 matchup, number 5 seeded Moeller versus number 3 seeded Lakota West. Like I said, seeding-wise, it's an upset, but with what both teams bring to the table, I don't see it being too much of an upset. I think this is actually a rematch of last year's regional final game in Region 4, so I'm going to go with the Moeller Crusaders upsetting Lakota West. Obviously, it's a 5 versus 3, not too much separation in the seeding, but I think Moeller's going to take them down.
I'm going to go Springfield over Dublin Kaufman. I love what Springfield's been able to do this postseason, and the Springfield Wildcats, that is a legit team when healthy. Dublin Kaufman, I know I've kind of written them off since round 1 of the playoffs when they took down Fairmont, but I'm going to go with Springfield. I think that they're playing really good football right now.
Yeah, that's definitely an upset that I could see pan out. And another thing, Jackson, obviously, you've got a pretty big day ahead of you. What do you got going on later?
So I'll be making my NCAA college football announcing debut. I will have the call for the Worcester-Wittenberg game, a D3 NCAA matchup at Edwards Maurer Stadium in Springfield, Ohio. So actually after this, I'm going to head back home, pick up all my notes, and book to the stadium as well. You can watch that game live. Kickoff at 1 p.m. We'll be live at 12:55. Watch on the TKDS Sports Network or the Wittenberg's Athletics YouTube page. So should be a good one. It's a regular season finale as well.
And yeah, if anybody was wondering why this show isn't 3 hours long, that right there is your answer why.
Well, you have to be in Cincinnati as well.
This is true.
You have other places to be. It's not all on me.
Well, it was initially until I remembered I had to be
whatever.
somewhere.
Thanks for dealing with us for these past 2 hours. Alongside Matthew Pennington, I'm Jackson Lightcap, John Snyder, all of our guests, Coach George Howard, Tim Capel, John Spark. We're live 4 to 6 on Monday. We'll go back into some professional and college talk then. But until then, thanks for dealing with us. We'll talk to you then.